Tonight's show, we're talking about my story. That's right. I'm giving you all the deets, and I'm answering all your questions with live readings coming up right now.
Does it look like a Devin or David?
David is his name. It's been so spot on.
And I don't know if you put it in the side of your end table or not. You like there's something in your end table that you this too.
My God, you're crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if she's showing me flowers. Like, relay them or redo them. These purple flowers.
Oh my God, Scott, the flowers are right there. My orchids are purple. They completely are dead.
Yeah.
Did you even know? You nailed everything, every single thing. Listen, everyone, this guy.
There needs to be a connection with like a Native American ancestry. And they're showing me a turquoise stone. Yes.
I just went to a Native American dance class and I wore this stone.
Tell me something that he told you that came true.
Everything he's predicted has come true.
I just don't see it.
Who doesn't have cancer?
It's very possible.
Camera's psychic who first questioned Brooke's cancer.
Scott Cruz.
Oh, there you won! You won!
You better question yourself. We're here to bring enlightenment, not confusion.
You might encounter negative aspects of self, but that's a freeing experience.
Because then they start realizing that they can't think outside the box. And I say, if you can't think outside the box, then who's the stupid one here? We've all co-created this matrix. So if you don't like the matrix, that's you saying that you don't like your own reality, what you're creating for yourself. So we're all equal participants of the creation of this matrix. I don't just come on here and talk and repeat I'm living it.
In harmony with nature.
Happy Thursday Night Live, guys. Welcome to the Cruisyverse. How are you beautiful souls doing tonight? I missed you all last week, but I said I'll be taking weeks off every now and then, so I'm back. So this week, get a breath of fresh air too, right? Sometimes it's good to miss someone or good to miss an event or something, right? So sometimes consistency can be mundane and boring, but I'm back and refreshed from last week. So I hope you all had a great week. It's been an interesting week so far. Interesting October, busy October, I hope, for a lot of you guys. And so we'll kind of see what's going on in the collective read. A lot going on in the news, a lot going on in the media, but we're here to kind of take a break from all that stuff. So I may pop in a couple things about what's going on in the world, but it's been somewhat mundane and repetitive with that too. So it's time for a break from all that mundane shiznits and have some more Cruisyverse vibes going on tonight, right? So anyways, let's see who's going on. Let's see who's Chatty Cathy in the room tonight. I'm a little kooky today. So you'll have a kooky Scott a little bit. So we'll see when I tune in if I'm kooky or not, if it remains. So let's see who's Chatty Cathy in the room. We have David and Jennifer Cruz first, and second is my makers. Welcome aboard, Mom and Dad. What's up, Mom and Dad? Wonderful mod Nita is in the room. She is back. She is recovering from something that she was experiencing. So a lot of you guys know. So good healing vibes to her. She's doing well. She's back, and she'll be back with a collector read for herself too, or her message next week. So we're all been taking our time for ourselves, as we are also demonstrating for those of you that need to take time for yourselves. We're leading by example, right? So we're taking time for ourselves. It's very important so we come back refreshed and also give ourselves the nurturing that we need. But anyways, if you want to get a question in, it's 15 for a card pull, 20 for one questions, 30 for two, 40 for live video. The PayPal and Venmo is in the PayPal and Venmo links are in the description below. See, I'm kooky tonight. And for the live video can only be through Venmo, because that's the only platform that I can actually, payment platform I can respond or leave a comment to, put the link to you to call in. I don't know why PayPal doesn't do that. It should. But yes, get them in now, because when we're done with the topic tonight is my story. We're going to give you a little bit of tidbits of what's going on with my story and growing up, as far as, you know, being a psychic medium and with the supernatural, but also the trauma I've been through and all that great stuff. I'll try not to make it too long tonight, but some people have been asking, a lot of people have been asking for me to do so. So it's that time. So we'll definitely deal with the collector. See, I am stumbling tonight because I have all this energy. We will definitely be doing a collective read tonight too, and then the story, and then we'll get into the live reading. So without further ado, actually, let me say hi to people in the room. I forgot to do that too. Sydney Aaron, good to see you. Linda Jane, hello. Darby Mabry, good to see you as well. Princess Putz, good to see you. Ketras Oracle Magic, hello. Welcome aboard. Good to see you as well. Ellie Taylor, Brenda Zweck, Alma Ford, hello. Wesley Mosher, good to see you. Iggy, can't you see? Got some inside jokes going on these days, him and I. Starlight Reboot, good to see you. I like the name, actually. great name. Who else we have here? More Iggy. James Porterfield, what's going on with you as well? Hello. It's good to see you back as well, James, as well. And those of you who are watching, and Caroline Catton, good to see you as well. And those of you who are watching, welcome aboard. I can only see you as chatting at the moment. But without further ado, let's get into the collective read and see. I'm going to be good with my banners tonight. So you got the collective read up there. Now let's see if I remember for the rest of the show. But let's get these cards a shuffling and see what the collective energy is today. And for the week too, because I want to see what's going on for the week. And let's get a little bit of a... I want to also try to use some atmosphere music and stuff of that nature. And I don't even have it on here. I wanted to put some... Here, no, I got it. Never mind. There we go. Now let's lower that. Some pensive music to have while I'm shuffling these cards, because sometimes they take some time. So let the music kind of take over while I shuffle the cards. All right, but this past few weeks, as we were saying, coming out of a lot of, that heavy energy, and of course, we've been heavy for quite some time. I think all 2025 it's been saying like it's heavy energy, but it's different forms of that and different reasons of why, right? And so, we were coming out of a period where we need to be using our voices, finding our foundation, grounding, right? And so now we're going to get into kind of what's going on for the next week, but also kind of the next month ahead too. I won't get too specific. I think also each month I will do an all readings aspect for each month. So I think that's something I'll do each month. Is like an all signs things like I've done the past couple months. I'll do that a norm. So I won't get too into depth about next month as I will in September. I will. But for now, let's just kind of see what the overall message is. They're a little stuck. Some of y'all may have a little stick up your behinds, but we'll see if that's actually the message when these cards are ready and well done. Okay. I have to open up my text too. Someone's text to make sure it's not Ahmad. Okay. All right. These cards are really... I guess I had to pull it out because it fell out, but they're kind of sticky. Okay. Interesting. Okay. All right. Let's pull some oracles. Not sticky, Iggy. These cards are nowhere near any of that you're thinking about. So there's no way to be sticky from, popsicle juice. I'm sure that's what you're making. Interesting. All right. Look at this. Okay, great cards. Let me shut this music off and we will, let me tune in now. Let's see if I stop this here. All right, 1 second. Okay. Six of Cups. This is about the past. Now, a lot of times we keep talking in the spiritual community how much we got to get over the past. Get over the past. I got to let go of the past. Well, not everything in your past was, a detriment to your growth. Not everything in your past was a negative aspect or a negative contribution to your positioning now where you're going. The negative, past is part of it, but we also have a lot of positive things in our past, our roots from our past, the beings we were when we were 4, 5, 6 years old. We had that excitement, right? We didn't hold back. We grabbed onto things. We had that, positive outlook, creative outlook. These are things of the past we've got to remember too, though. So as much as there's emphasizing in the spiritual community is that let go of the past, get over the past, get over the past, let go. And it's like, no, we also want to associate good things to our past as well, but also not so much even just trying to associate good past. I know people might say, oh, my past was horrible. Nothing is good in my past. Well, also understanding that the not good in your past has defined you today and somehow making that into a positive acceptance of your past. And it means that not that you're saying that, and I've been saying acceptance a lot for the past few weeks. For some reason, there's like people who don't have like a full capacity of thought that seem to think that means that we're supposed to accept negative behavior, accept killers, and all this bad stuff happening in our world. No, accepting your past does not mean you accept what happened to you, but that it happened to you. And so when we could say to ourselves, I don't accept that behavior, and I will never accept the behavior, but I accept the fact that it happened to me, that I can actually turn it into something beneficial, or something positive, or something productive, or something where it actually can help others who've been through the similar situation situation who needs coping mechanisms, right? And so we have to understand that it's not about accepting, what's happened. It's accepting that it happened to us and we can move on from that. That'll allow us to easily let go of the past, but also allowing ourselves not to be so hung up that we're so, that we need to disassociate from the past. We can understand how it's part of us. And like I use every trauma that I have as a notch on my belt. And we'll get into my story and you'll see what I'm talking about. But it's a notch on my belt. Everything I've been through in the past, look back like I needed that. It refined me today. Or at least I've taken the circumstances and situations and allowed myself to refine myself because of it. So people can argue whether or not it is built into society or built into spirituality that they're purposely in our lives for that reason. We can think that way, but I also say it doesn't matter if they're purposely put in my life because that's what I have to learn. The fact is I'm going to take that information and experiences and turn it into something that I can learn from and make myself better from. So we should choose it whether or not there's an actual spiritual reason why it's happened, or if it's purposely put in our lives or not, it should be irrelevant. It's the fact that it happened. What am I going to do with it? And so a lot of you guys need to understand and come to terms with your past in that way, because this is where, and the Eight of Cups coming in this position too is kind of like walking away from things, starting anew and abandoning things. But I want to turn this card in this position in a positive, saying that you're walking away in peace. You're letting the past be the past, but you can still look at it. Like I can look at my past and talk about it, which is why I'm doing it today, because I feel like I've come to terms with it. And all the negative stuff or things that were painful, I've come to terms with, so I can discuss it very openly and objectively. Because like I said before, it's a notch on my belt. So that's how we fully move on, right? When we put things in perspective of our past, we can fully move on because it doesn't hold us back. We don't allow the deprivations to be the triggers in our life that, cause us to not want to experience other things in our life, right? That's how we truly move forward. And, again, I like to say everything that happens to us, everything we've connected with is always going to be connected in some sort of way to us. So this is why the cord cutting aspect, it's like, no, like these are experiences that are causing us to grow and to evolve. And when you understand it, you'll be thankful for those experiences, not trying to cut the cords and, but we have to do is understand psychic connection, right? And so we don't want to be feeding things or having open cords to feed things in that sense. We want to close those connections, but we don't want to close the connections and cord cut from the actual experiences that has caused us to wake up or realize things about ourselves that we needed, in that sense. So we got to understand how to remain connected, but not feeding it at the same time, right? It's the spiritual music becomes so black and white about this, which makes people even more in shambles of actually being more bound to their past, because it's hard to also forget things. You're never going to forget things. There's always be moments that trigger you. It's how you're dealing with it. So we got to stop trying to forget things. We got to stop trying to put things under the rug and I'm high vibe. We got to confront it and accept it and embrace it for what it is, and use it to turn to something that what we can do that maybe others cannot do because they don't have such drive and passion because of experiences that we've been through, or the other way around, and so the Ace of Wands is really all about creativity and insight and inspiration and emotional connectivity. Like you should be the ace of your emotions. You should know how to sway your emotions. You should understand how to use emotion. You should understand how to be creative with your emotions to experience things you want to experience in the future, right? So you do this by accepting it all. And again, not condoning the things that have happened, but accepting that they've happened. I'm going to say that one more time. We're not saying about accepting, what has happened, but that they've happened. Big difference, because that's how we grow. That's how we become more in control of our emotions, and we can actually allow ourselves to use that Ace of Wands, that emotional energy, say, I want this, this will happen here, I will have this, and to magically conform our world around us to our liking. Because we're the ones who control and dictate who we are. And so this is the Judgment card too, saying this is all about spiritual awakening, in a sense, in that regard. Because many people think a spiritual awakening means that I can understand intuition, I'm intuitive, so spiritual awakening. It's like, no, that might be side effects that you're processing or currently in a spiritual awakening. But a true spiritual awakening is understanding the totality of your being and understanding the purpose of all of it. That's true awakening. And then understanding where you're going and how to treat others in retrospect is the spiritual awakening, right? And so many people in society don't know what a fucking spiritual awakening is. They think that, because left to right is fighting the right and right is fighting left, that's some sort of spiritual awakening going on here, or spiritual warfare. I'm like, no, you're all just being dumb, creating chaos. There's no spiritual fight going on there. It's just chaotic bullshit, right? A true spiritual awakening is understanding this is why I am the way I am. This is why I was the way I was. This is why it happened to me. And this is where it's molded me into. And I'm accepting of that and accepting of others who are doing their evolution in their own way. Not telling them how to evolve and how to think and how to feel and how to live. That's not evolved. That's not spiritual awakening. That there's bad and good. Ooh, we're second grade again. Spiritual awakening. Good versus evil. Spiritual warfare. The only spiritual warfare is going on in those individuals because they are seeing things a very two-dimensional sort of way. We got to look at things more from a 5D, 6D sort of way in this reality if you want to have our spiritual awakening. And being intuitive and psychic is the results of having such. And it's more about knowing you, knowing about yourself, your own power. And not allowing your own power to be infiltrated or persuaded by media, politics, all this other bullshit out there in culture, and because that's not you. You're allowing others to dictate how you feel and how you perceive things, which means that becomes a dictator of your happiness. That becomes a dictator of your life, and not you. So that's the present day. So when we start allowing ourselves to embrace our path and our journey and evolution, we will be less dependent on that bullshit and see right through it, and it wouldn't have an impact on us. And so that's the real spiritual awakening we're really talking about, is that true understanding of self, and then how that also extends to others around us. And with the attraction card, I mean, that's what attraction really is. If you're really, and the self-love comes right after that. So I hope, it gets blurry because of focus. But that's what self-love really is, and that's what really attraction is, because you're knowing who you are, you know how to navigate in life, you know how to be you know how to select the things in your life that match you. So many people have bad pickers. It's like, well, you're bad at selecting and knowing who you are and what you match with, right? And so when you have that self-love state, you're actually attracted to things that vibrate the same. It's not because you thought about it, it's because you became it. Big difference. So, and that's the assessing card to me is interesting, because that's really how you start assessing aspect of your own reality, aspects of this reality, aspects of other people that you never seen. You start seeing and receiving and intertwining with things you never thought you would intertwine with before. Why? Because you know yourself. That's simple. And we hear it all the time, know thyself. How many of y'all heard it but don't really know what it really feels to say it? Do you really know what it means to say, I know myself? Or it's like, yeah, I know who I am. I like, cute guys, and, I like, cupcakes. And is that really knowing who you are? Or saying, I know who I am. So some of these cliche words, because I have always been trying to get away from cliches, I'm actually going to bring cliches back in and try to give it more substance for people to really ponder, to say, can you really say you understand what that phrase means? And when you get to the point, like I said before, you understand the totality of your past, present, future, where you're going, who you truly are, and you're attracting that like energy, you start assessing the energy that's completely opposite from what you used to because you've expanded, right? It's interesting that the masculine card comes here, because I left it open because I'm like, let's see what it says next about the masculine. Masculine is a very dominant energy, right? It's a very, I don't want to say black and white, but it's more to the point. Not that the divine feminine isn't. It is in different ways. The divine masculine is a stabilizing energy. Now, we all have, this isn't talking about men and women. This is talking about, we all have a divine masculine, divine feminine counterparts within us. We all have it. So I'm talking about the divine masculine, divine feminine. Divine masculine within us is determined and solid and fighting and solid and doesn't budge, right? And we're saying we don't budge in the things that are in our divine feminine. We're not budging on our divine feminine energy. We're not budging on our creativity. We're not budging on what we feel is true for us. We're not budging on the fact that what we love and care for. We're not budging. So we're using our divine masculine to protect our divine feminine aspects. That's what's the solidification that I've been saying that's coming up for Scorpio season. I said last night on LOL, it's all about solidifying things now for November in Scorpio season. It's about solidifying now. And solidifying what I just said. Everything I just said. I didn't think we were going to go there with this read, but we did. And so now I can see how it all connects. But solidifying that now. No, this is who I am. This is how I'm going to do it. This is why I want to do it. And I've been doing that. I was when I started social media, like lately, been burning out, like I've been a slave to it. I'm like, fuck this. I'm not a slave to social media. I'm going other directions and doing social media for fun, as an alternate. I'm finding ways to have my business in other ways that's not reliant upon social media, because I don't like it so much, right? I like doing it when I show up, like now, when I want to show up, not because I have to all the time and perform, right? So that's me solidifying. I'm going to do I love being on social media, but not having be a slave to it. So I'm going to do it how I want to do it now. Not because I have to, because of algorithms and all that stuff. And I feel more lighter with that. I feel lighter with it. Where I look forward to it, right? And so, because then I have other time to do things I want to do too. So that's important for us to use that divine masculine to make it stick now, to solidify those changes, to solidify what you realize, the spiritual awakening that I talked about before, the true spiritual awakening. It's time to solidify that now. Yeah, I am intuitive. Yeah, I know I am an empath. So I'm going to actually work with that. I'm going to work with my intuition more. I'm going to solidify this. I don't care if people think I'm crazy or not. Fuck that. Yeah, I want to start my spiritual business. Fuck that. I don't care if people look at me like crazy. They're crazy because they're judging me. So who cares? I'm doing it. Right? Solidify. Lock it in. It's time to lock that in. Because otherwise, remaining in question and who shoulda, woulda, coulda, you'll always be in a sense of a state of dissatisfaction. I will tell you this, the sense or feeling or your illusion of failure is a lot more satisfying than sitting back and doing nothing at all. Because failure is just an illusion. If something didn't work out the way you thought so, and you define that as failure, that means you're entitled. That means you don't understand there's a bigger picture, that you might have to acquire more knowledge about something before you proceed with it. Oh, I took that leap, but it didn't work out for me. I said, well, why didn't it work out for you? What did you need to learn? What do you need to learn now more of? How do you have to present things and move forward with things in the future now? And so many people just give up because one thing didn't turn out their way. Well, that's entitlement. That's bratty behavior. Nothing's going to ever go the way you think it does until you tap into the soul and you tap into your intuition. You have that spiritual awakening that says to you, okay, this is what my true purpose is, and I'm following that now. Boom, then things happen and go in so many different ways. You're not looking for it to go your way. You're kind of saying, I wonder what's next. I wonder what I feel next. Okay, I'm working with the present. That's organic. But taking that leap and having that illusion of failure, which you realize it is no such thing as that, well, guess what happens? You will feel better because you feel like, I've done something. I could do something else too. I'll do it again. Or there's more motivation than sit back and not. So it's time to take, again, that action to solidify now so you can really revel in things and move forward and create that. Well, we created the identity was back in, I think last month we talked about that was like the theme of last month. It was more about the identity. Virgo season about the voice, and then we went to Libra about grounding and identity. And so we're coming out of it now, solidifying that new identity, the new version of self that you've identified for yourself. Now it's time to solidify it and taking action, baby. You're taking action on the creative endeavors and new ideas, whatever they are. And so I think a lot of people have been reminded too, as of late, that, where's time really going? Where's time really going, right? And so, so that was the collective read. So let's get into the topic now, which is talking about my story, and let's get rid of that collective reading banner because it looks crappy. All right, my story. I'm getting these banners right. So a lot of people ask me, and I don't prepare anything for my live shows. It's supposed to be like laid back, hang out energy, right? Raw, which I think everything I do is always raw. I never really try to be too sparkly, except for the aesthetics of things and how they present. But I was just, I figured I'm just going to kind of like just go where it naturally takes about my own story, because I've told a lot of it in fragments to people, but not really in a whole package. So, but I'm also looking at the time. I don't want to go too long. So I'll keep it interesting, long enough, but short enough too, where you're like, okay, he didn't go on too long. Okay. But many people ask me, they say, so Scott, when did you know that you were a psychic or medium? And I say, since I was like 4 or 5, a long time ago, because I was able to feel, at that age, I was able to feel people's energy easily. So I was an empath because I picked up people's energy. I remember at 4 years old, my grandfather was talking to my dad in a very horrible way. He wasn't the best to my father. And so I called him out saying, yo, you don't talk to him like that. You make people worse and sicker. You don't talk like that. You talk with respect. Like, so long, we have a video. It's like I don't know. I didn't select Mickey Mouse there. I don't know. I did a Mickey Mouse voice, but I was younger and had a higher pitched voice. But even then I was like, you don't treat people like that. And I would yell, was yelling with conviction. I'm 4 years old. And so you make people sick with that, talking like that. So even then I understood that, what was respectable, how you treat people. And it was coming out of me at that age that I wanted to make sure I stood up for people who got treated poorly, in that sense, or wanted to come to bat for people, to nurture people. But then I was also at that age, as I got older, we had what we call a poltergeist in our house in Howell, New Jersey. And the woman had passed away in the house. So, and then when we moved in the house, and she had passed on in the house. So, we were not, my family wasn't very much worried about that aspect then. Nothing was really spiritual. Not that we didn't believe in it, but, because I was very young. And so weird things when we moved in started happening in that house. It started with, we would smell like whiffs of perfume, kind of like pass by us. And we'd all be like strong, like, what is that? Just kind of breezing on by. And so start with that a lot. Then we had a basement door that I kid you not. I mean, it is this door would shake and rattle like somebody was forcefully trying to get out. Now my dad's a master handyman, so he goes in trying to see if it's wind. I'm like, even if it was wind, it wouldn't be like crazy, like someone trying to get out. And this would happen every night, every day. So it got to a point we just got used to it, right? And so, open the door, of course, it was, nothing would happen, it would stop. There was many occasions in my room, I would have those pull-down blinds, and they would just randomly go up one by one, in order, not like just one would go up. They just go, and so I'm like, okay. So we just said her name was Mrs. Blecker. So, Mrs. Blecker, it's okay, you can leave us alone. So, that's where it started to become really crazy. One time in the middle of the night, and now my family and I all recall this. We didn't talk about it like after it all happened until like well after we were like kind of adults and so forth in that nature. And so we all have the same memory. It's not like one saw it and one didn't. We all saw it. We all have the same memories of these things. One time I was sleeping and I just like woke up in the middle of sleep and I just saw like these handprints on my freaking comforter. And I'm like, I think it was like probably 5 or 6. I'm like, what's going on? And then my sheets got pulled off me and I jumped at a high kick. I flew out of that room. Like, what the hell? I kid you not. Like, that sounds crazy, right? And so we didn't tell anybody because, like, who's going to believe this, right? So then one night, it was another night, so many different occurrences. I'm just kind of listing kind of the major ones that we all remember. My brother wakes up screaming, like, "Mom, Dad, come here!" We run into the room, and he had shelves of remote control cars and all these things on the shelf. And he says, the car is moving back and forth. So one of the cars on the shelf was going back and forth, wheels are turning, lights are on, blinking, right? My dad's like going off, and he's like, oh, well, he probably, left it on. He picks up, it was, not on, of course, and opens up, and there's no batteries in it. So my dad, of course, is like, oh, well, something with the frequency and the telephone lines and the satellites probably interfering with it, try to like pacify and calm it down. So like that was another weird instance that was moving back and forth by its own. And there's another instance too where there was my brother was screaming. He saw like eyes through the window, and he's like, "There's eyes out the window." I'm like, "Okay, maybe she had a nightmare, right?" And so then he starts screaming. He's on the floor, and he's like, "Dad, someone's pulling me." Again, this sounds crazy. No one's would believe this. And my dad walks into the room and starts trying to pull my brother out of whatever force was pulling him, right? Trying to pull him out, and we're all sitting there like, what the hell's going on? So, and then of course we pull them out, and they were like, of course, I don't remember it happened even after that. And I remembered that. And as I got older and we talked about it, I wanted to see if it was a memory of mine, if other people remembered it the same. So I wanted to see how my parents saw it. They described it the same exact way as I saw it when we started talking about it as adults. So again, none of us saw it differently. We saw it the same. Maybe the angles are slightly different in our, descriptions. But it was crazy. So obviously there was a poltergeist in the house, and we had so many other experiences. People come over, have experiences there. Within the backyard, there was this big mound like this that just sunken in, right? And I'm like, what the hell? So my dad would try to fertilize it, fix it, and it would always just soup down into this mound, and it smelled like something dead, right? I'm not kidding you. It's like the Poltergeist movie. That's why that movie scared the hell out of me when I was that age, because I felt like it was like real life. Like I felt like I was living it, with that movie. And so today it's still one of my favorite movies because there's a relation to this, So now as an older age, when I started learning about the aspects of spirituality and the supernatural, poltergeist is created by someone who has abilities but experiencing trauma. Now, at that time, and my parents did not know, I was being abused by a family member sexually and physically. And so I'm like, that makes sense, because at that time, as it went on, like that was something that was created, had abilities, wouldn't be utilized. So I was infiltrating this energy, this poltergeist in the house. Besides the fact there was a spirit of a woman that lived there, that died in the house. There was residual energy from her. And then I found out later on, as I did research, that the house is built on an Indian burial ground. So just like the poltergeist movie. So there's a lot of chaotic residual energy there. And so now someone's experiencing trauma and has abilities that will resurrect a lot of crazy crap. And it seemed to be targeting, the person that I was experiencing trauma with, which made sense to me too, as I got older. So anyway, so then we just kind of we got used to it. The bathroom, the basement door would shake. We'd just open up, come on in. Like it just became nothing to us. So as I got older, then when we left there, we moved to Florida. And the funny thing was the woman who died in that house in Jersey was Mrs. Blecker. And so then we moved to Florida, moved to a house, and the guy died in the house that we moved to next, and his name was Mr. Blunker. So from Blecker to Blunker. So that was an odd connection. And so as I gotten older, I started to see things. Like I started to see apparitions. I started to see what I call now residual energies. As I got in my teenage years, I was still going through the abuse through a family member. So that was kind of going on even up into my early teenage years. And so I would be with a friend and I would see like a holographic image of someone passed on there, or a little girl, the person over here. I was seeing all this and I was more surprised. I'm like, you don't see this? Like, you don't see it over there? And then we just were like, you smoking in a car, right? Just chilling out. And all of a sudden we both saw these energies coming, because we were in this open field, and then he flipped out. And so then I realized I'm starting to see more than just like things moving. I'm starting to see apparitions or see residual energies or interdimensional beings. Like, what do I do with this? Right? And so as that was getting tense, I went to his house one time, and I was just like, I was in his room, and I was like, I feel like there's like 3 kids in this room. Because then I start to like look into like, this is what I'm feeling and sensing, and I think there's 3 kids in this room and that passed away or killed here or murdered or something. He goes, really? I said, yeah, I can't go in the house. I went out of the house. I couldn't go in it. That was the time I couldn't handle that stuff. I'm like, I won't go in your house. And he was so intrigued that I couldn't do this. So he ended up like looking up to see if there was anything. And there were a family that was killed in that house. So it was confirmed. So I'm like, okay, so now I'm not just seeing things, I'm predicting things, like I'm reading things. So it was really odd to me. At that time, I was in the Christian church. So of course, I was in the Christian church and being gay at that time, because I was open being gay and I was in sin. So I was, prayed on. I was put through exorcisms in the church, and also because I was also had the abilities that they deemed to be evil of Satan and so forth, right? And so I would see people in the church and I'd say, that woman has snakes in her body, and I would tell people, I said, she's a bad person, and they would say, that's out of line. And then that one woman actually got kicked out of the church because she was doing really bad things. And so then they started realizing I'm predicting things. So of course that was on top of being gay was a no-no. But I believed it. They convinced me that it was sinful. They convinced me that it was wrong. They convinced me all those things. And so I was at the altar crying, sacrificing, getting rid of things in my life. So of course my abilities weren't so great then, because it was being suppressed. It was being attacked. And so experiencing an exorcism, basically, I look back and I realized there was no demon in me. My soul was like, stop, get your hands off of me. Stop trying to, change me. So when I was going through exorcism, that energy and the holy water, it's because I was like, leave me alone. I've already been abused. I've already been, sexually touched. And now you're trying to change me. Like, leave me alone. My soul was screaming to let me go. Right. And so it was constant with that. It was constant with at that point I became suicidal. I went through suicide ideation, tried to take my life 3 times. And each time there was a big voice, like loud voice, said, there's more to you than, and I stopped. And so thankfully, but my mom would even tell you, I was like very angry. I was always walking around like, as I should be. I was being basically suffocated by a Christian church, and so, but I believed it. So then my parents also believed it too, because like, well, my son was trying to change. And they believed it, but they got wrapped up in the cult. I mean, we were involved in a cult. It was nothing like a church. It was a cult. So when I say ritualistic abuse and cult abuse, I mean it, because it was years of that exorcisms, years of that praying in the holy water and holding me down. It was years of that. And then as I got older, about 15, 16, and, there was a man under church that he took a liking to me as a mentor, wanted to be a mentor. And so said, I love your music. I'm going to try to get your music going. And, you're so talented. And so played that role, grooming, of course. And then the first time he says, yeah, I'm going to take you to a record label and we're going to have you sing and all stuff. And so I'm 15, naive. And so we go, he's like, oh yeah, the guy's not here. So then we'll just go back to my place. And so then got sexually assaulted at his place. And so part of me, because of my past, is like, well, I have to give in to this. But how do I fight this so I just have to go along with it because I'm stuck in 45 minutes from my house, so trapped. So then I kind of let that go because I was already experiencing the abuse, the family members my parents were not aware of. If they were, they would have, of course, stopped it. So they would not know because I didn't say anything. And then the second time he's around, he's still showing like he's a mentor. I'm like, okay, this is weird. And so then the second time, he's like, yeah, we're going to go to read another, music person this time. We got it again. Didn't happen. Locked me in his car. Again, sexual assault. And so I got so frustrated. I'm like, this is happening to me consistently. And I said, you know what? This isn't right. You're using me. You're being dishonest to me. I said it like it was 15. And I said, you better tell your wife or I'm going to tell her. So she better be crying Sunday morning in church. I said, she better be crying. Otherwise I'm going to walk over and tell her. So lo and behold, I get there into choir practice. We're in the choir. There's about like 100, I think 80 to 100 people. Maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe 50. And she's crying and they're all surrounding her. And basically was told that I had been the seducer to him because I was the one they knew was gay, and he completely detached responsibility from that. My mom's like, I'm gonna have him arrested. I'm like, Mom, don't. Because then I felt bad for him because this poor guy's in the closet, right? So, but I should have just said, yeah, have him to take responsibility. And so basically they all pointed fingers at me because I was in healing supposedly. So then a pastor walked in and basically outed the whole thing to the church, basically to the choir, and that I can no longer be in choir. I need to go to conversion therapy. And so a pastor walks in, escorts me out. The whole church found out, made a mockery of me, a whole shambles of me, basically. And I was 15. I was a minor. This guy was 30 and married, and he was still in choir and singing and stuff like that. So then I'm in conversion therapy, and I'm just like so miserable at this point. I feel like, what's the point of living? Why do I need to live? And again, this is probably my third suicidal attempt. Something, what's the point? If I'm going to hell, let's do it now. Like, let's just go now. I'm tired of this. I'm trying to change, and it's not happening. And when I was in conversion therapy, when I would go out with friends, I would be stalked. Like, I'd be out going to mall. They would say, we saw you with a gentleman. Was he gay? They would follow me if they saw me out and about. It's a small town in Boca Raton, Florida. The irony, First Assembly of God was the name of the church, and yet the initials are FAG. Irony there, right? First Assembly of God, FAG. And so they would follow me. They'd question me. It was very odd that I felt like I was being stalked, but that was my fixing. And so the pastor who was doing the conversion therapy, and I'm going to summarize this. Basically, I had to write down anytime I had a sexual thought, right? Also, I had to make a list of those who I had sexual intercourse with or sexual relation, what I did with them, and what was my favorite body part of theirs, okay? I'm not kidding you. And I was sitting there, I'm like, what does this prove? He's like, well, we're going to identify the source of the attraction. I'm like, but that's odd. I'm like, is this guy getting off with this? So I'm like, whatever. I entertained it. I was going to do anything to change. Anything. I wanted to change. I didn't want to go to hell. I didn't want to be sinful. I didn't want to be treated like an outcast of society. I did not want this. So I would do anything to change. Years of getting rid of secular music. Years of getting rid of friends. Years of praying at the altar. Years of doing all that stuff. Years. So I'm like, maybe this will do it. I'll do anything. Fine. So I had to take a journal, a little book to school. And every time I had a sexual thought, if I'm in class, on the train going to school, guess what? I had to write it down. And you know how evasive that was for me? That I have to like put this down for someone else to read? But I felt like, I'm going to do it. If this is going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to entertain this. And I did. And as much as it sucked the soul out of me, right? The fact I'm going to hell, I'm disgusting, and that I'm doing this, I'm really seriously taking, as I'm being sexually abused behind the scenes anyway, this is even just more just like pulling out, pulling out the life out of me. And, my mom looks back, look at pictures when I'm 50, 16, my pictures, I'm like this. No life, just angry, right? Because that sucked the life out of me. And so I did all that. I entertained all that. And so I go, here's the book. Here's a month's, I think it was 2 or 3 months worth of sexual thoughts in a journal. And here's the people I've had sexual activity with. What he didn't know is I also included the person that had been abusing me in that list. And he overlooked that. He missed it. So didn't pay attention to it because obviously that wasn't his agenda. So I turned to him and said, great, so move on to something else. And I said, but wait a minute, so what are we going to do with that? Well, I got to review it. I said, but for when? For why? Like, you did it, let's go over it now. I was like, no, I have to look and go through it. And I said to myself, I sat back, I'm like, you're getting off on this, aren't you? And he looked at me and he's like, Mr. Cruz, no, I'm trying to help you. I'm anointed by God. God has anointed me to help you. And that was the response. And I just said there, that's when, at that point, I'm like, this is bullshit. I said, you're gay. This guy's a homo. Basically, I said to myself. Kind of knew it before, but I was so focused on my own depression that I was going through and anxiety. I was like, screw that. I said, this guy's a homo. And I said, I'm going to find a way to prove this. I'm not kidding you. We had a family friend who was actually her family friend who is his sister, and she was close with us. She was like, when I was going through that stuff, she was like, Scott, I feel for you, I understand. And after I went through that period, I was really upset. And so she came to me one time and says, I've been thinking about you, and I know what you're going through. I said, look, your brother made me do da 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 da. She goes, he did? And I said, yeah. And I said, I feel like he's getting off on it. And she goes, Scott, I want to just let you know I understand what you're going through. My roommate is actually my partner, my lover, and my brother has, dealt with homosexuality before. They said battled with it. I said, I knew it. She's like, I don't stand for that. I don't approve of this, but I don't know what the curriculum calls. I said, okay, I'm done with this. So that's when I stopped really paying attention to any of it. Now I'm just like, at this point I'm almost 18. So I'm like, whatever. I'm entertaining shit. I'm like, whatever. I said, I said it toward the end when I was about to turn 18, I said, I'm done with this shit. I said, there's just more important things in life than someone's sexuality and someone's, what they're attracted to. I'm trying to focus on being successful in my life, I said, y'all are worried about who I'm fucking sleeping with. And I said, who's the fucking perverted one here? I stood up and said, I'm done with this. I am no longer, and I ran away from home. I left my home. I said, I'm done. I took my, phone. I left the car behind that was on my parents' name, even though I was paying for it. I left everything behind, and I moved in with a boyfriend up in Palm Beach, who was a local weatherman. How funny is that? And my parents were struggling with that, because, part they really thought I needed, because I brought them into the church, which is the funny thing, because my neighbors brought me in, and they really thought like this is true, and they really thought like that my son wants to change. I want to support him because he's trying to, and this is the religion that we believe in. So, and so when they realized I was like detached and just ran away, and I just didn't want anything to do with it, then they were trying to find me, of course. And it was several months that I was taking the train for a $7 an hour job just to make money. And I was trying to assume enough money to get my own place so I'd have to live with the boyfriend. And so at that time, I was just kind of like, they didn't want to hear from them. And so they called and they found me, they hunted me down, and they wanted me to come home. And I made a contract saying, if I come home, you accept my lifestyle. You accept what I'm doing. Otherwise, I don't need you. And they said, come home. We don't want you to worry about it. They want you to go to college and all that stuff. And so I did. And so it took them all to adapt. They tried very hard. And it's hard to get out of a cult. It's very difficult. But they did. And they did for me, And so as I left that behind, I said, I want nothing to do with spirituality. I want nothing to do with, I'm done with that shit. But at some point, Yeshua kept tuning in and says, Scott, I don't feel this way. The whole time I was getting out of it, I don't feel this way. Don't listen to them. I just heard Yeshua's voice. And I just knew that like this isn't really what God and Yeshua stands for. Not this crap, right? Especially I'm in converted there by a pastor who's gay. Like what the hell? And so as I became more atheist. I said, I'm done. I don't want any of this crap. I'm done with that and focus on my life. And I was just like, I don't believe in spirit anymore. I don't believe in intuition. All that stuff is bullshit. Atheist. And I was ruling on that. Oh, nothing happened. I just was speaking like nothing happens. We just die. We die. No big deal. And I felt stupid. I felt dumb. I felt like I didn't have insight. I didn't have inspiration. I was just angry. Just had anger. Just writing songs of anger. And so So then at the time I started go-go dancing because I was like, I left Florida, moved to Los Angeles to start to, because I really want to dive into the music career. And I'm like, I know I got to do what I got to do it because I'm young, 20 years old in Los Angeles. So I said, I was working jobs, 24 hours, 24 hours a day, 8 hours a day, making shit money. I'm like, and I can't stand this. I have no time to do music. I'm like, I had an offer, said, you want to go dance in our bar? I'm like, I don't know. And so because I did a stripping contest for fun, and I won it, and they wanted me to work for them, and I said no at first. Then I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? Maybe just sacrifice myself so I could put more into my music. So I did, made a lot of money doing that. And then I recognized that I got to the whole fetish bondage stuff on, as a performance, because that was me. That was my therapy. I said, I'm taking control of my abuser now. Right. And so once I kind of gotten past all that stuff, then I'm like, I don't need to dance anymore. I don't need these bondage shows to do anymore. I'm good. I'm in control now. Then my spirituality blossomed. I dabbled with Scientology because a friend's like, you should try Scientology place for artists. It's in the middle of Melrose in Los Angeles. And I was seeking for self-enlightenment. And I was probably at this time, maybe like 25, 26. And, I went through it, and then I realized that was a scam. They just wanted more money from me. And I'm like, there was some good teachings, but like, fuck this, I don't need this either. Then I just kind of went more Buddhist, spiritual. And at that time, I was having past life regressions. Like, I was predicting things for friends. I was like channeling spirit, and I was kind of open to that happening again and giving it that open platform because it just was like forcing out of me. And so then I had my first past life regression, which ended up being I'm going to speed this up too, where I was the Giuliano Medici. And how I know this because I had a past life where someone guided me through it, where I had a recognition where I was being stabbed in my chest. I was in the Renaissance period, and I felt the church, the stained glass of the church, and I was being like sought out for being a political whatever. And it was during the Renaissance period, and I felt like it was like in Italy somewhere. I felt when it was asking me, so I had no clue who the hell that was. The next day, I said, God, whoever's out there, I said, if I'm crazy with this, please show me evidence of this, please. The next day, a best friend of mine calls from the East Coast, and she teached art history. And how you doing? I told her about like my spiritual experiences because she's always known to be psychic in high school, and so I told her what was going on, and she's like, oh my God, I was just teaching my class about that the other day, about the Medici family. I'm like, who? He's like, Giuliano Medici. He was killed, stabbed like 11 times in his chest in a church, and he was a political leader, and it was in Italy. And I said, get out of here. And so I didn't know, because I had to cram history in like one semester because they failed to give that my credit in senior year. So I didn't oh, by the way, you have to take American history in order to graduate. And I had to cram it all in one semester to graduate. It was horrible. And so I forgot a lot of my history. So, and so I'm like, that's crazy. So I looked it up. I'm like, holy crap. And so I said, well, thank you, spirit God, whoever you are up there, but I need like one more, the confirmation. So then I met a friend, years later, I met a friend who had a boyfriend who was in the band, and we connected, and she did my chakra aligning and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know if I believe this chakra stuff, but okay. And she did. And she goes, while she was aligning, she said, I got 2 past lives of yours. One, she goes, I was drawing a heart and stabbing it, and I had to stop. I'm like, thank you, that's a confirmation. Then she gave me another one that I was, sacrificed as a child in Egypt, whatever. Okay. So then I really start to really dive in and say, I'm spiritual. I'm not any religious aspect. And so I also realized I was a physical medium because I was starting to realize that things are starting to happen in my locations, that I'm starting to recognize that I created entities, that was moving things in my home. So I said, let me embrace this. Like, I want to really go deep with it, and start to like really get into this being a physical medium and a locational medium. That's why I'm thinking about doing real estate. So that'd be a cool psychic realtor, actually, if I do that and help find people's places. So I started to really embrace that. But at that time, my trauma still was lingering. It was still resurfacing. I still had chip on my shoulder, and so it would come out. And so, I remember one event where the place I was living in LA, people were saying, Scott, there's like I keep seeing a black figure in your house. Multiple friends who didn't know each other. I'm like, really? And so a close friend of mine came over one night, and I told her, I said, and I go in to take a shower, and she's like, Scott, when you shower, there's an entity right here. And when I walked in, and I where she showed me where it was, I got like almost possessed by it. And I started like crying, and like, I don't remember what I was saying. And she just like starts to like put energy and like kind of pray over me. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. And she goes, I think that was you're a creation. I said, I feel that too. I said, I've kind of felt that before, that there's a shadow version of me lingering around like with this energy. So that's when I realized I got to heal my trauma. And so that's when I start to really think about going deep into psychology and stuff of that nature to get down to the bottom of that. And at that time I was composing music for TV and film, had a wonderful mentor that came in my life that was not taking advantage of me. So that helped me. He taught me how to give. He taught me he taught me how to receive. And so he's a huge mentor that got my career in composing started and never tried anything sexual with me. So I'm like, there's actually a real person in my life that actually believes in me and doesn't want anything from me. Right. And so that also changed my life. And so my composing career skyrocketed. I earned it. He didn't give it to me because I had to still present for producers and stuff. So I was working doing music. So I felt good. I was in that vibe. And, and then he passed away of brain cancer. So I'm like, can my mentors stick around to either stay or die or go on drugs or turn around? They do something, my mentors, so obviously they're there for a season. So at that time I was dealing with massive anxiety. I had agoraphobia. I couldn't leave my house. I had so much agoraphobia. Like I couldn't be around crowds. I couldn't go. I would get panic attacks in movie theaters and saying lines. I get panic attacks. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna die. Like I couldn't. And so I had a fear of going out. And I understood I was suppressing a lot of my spirituality, but a lot of my traumas. But I just had to be at home. I mean, I'm a domestic person to begin with, so that was a great excuse. But I realized at that time I had agoraphobia. I had fear of kind of leaving my home outside of my grocery store parameter. I'd always have people come over to my house. So once I kind of reached 30 and had a great relationship and had another massive, I'm going to keep this one private, another massive kick in the nuts in my life, but it actually ends up being a blessing. At some point, I'm going to share that part of my testimony. Only a few people know, but right now I want to keep it private. But there's a part of my testimony that I will share at some point, but it's just not the timing for it right now on this, but something kicking the nuts at that age. And so right about 31, I really said, I'm diving into spirituality more than just being psychic and predicting things and going to places and locations and doing ghost hunts and all that stuff. And so I dove deep into metaphysics, deep into the law of attraction, deep into manifestation, deep into Abraham Hicks, deep into Bashar, deep into all the channeling communities and Dolores Cannon and all these different aspects of that we all know with the spiritual communities when it comes to creating reality and all that stuff. I went deep into it. And at that time, I was also resolving my trauma. So I was confronting it, coming to terms with it. I wasn't afraid of it anymore. So I would get high, smoke some marijuana every night, and think. Walk around my house and say, why this is happening? Why do I feel this way? What can I do to change it? What I deserve better of? And start seeing things, opening my eyes to things. And, the manifestation community, it really helped me to, understand I'm in control. But it's more to that than what it's preaching. So it did help. And the law of attraction did help to say, you got to be different energy. So there's goods to that, like I say, but it's not how it is that you just think and things come to manifestation either. So I dive deep into that. And then my abilities, I would say for all of my 30s, my friends and even those in the gay community thought I was a snob because I didn't want to go out to parties. I didn't want to do that. I was uninterested. I was interested in building my abilities, resolving my trauma, and practicing, what I'm good at in that sense when it comes to spiritual stuff. And so, and I also said at that time at 15, a long time ago, I said, I want to be the mentor that I didn't have. And so that's why I'm sitting here today doing what I'm doing and doing readings professionally for 12 years, because I'm not only practicing my spirituality, but also being the mentor that I always wanted to have. And so that's what I spent my whole 30s doing. And the more I was awakening and peeling layers off, my abilities were going through the freaking roof, where I couldn't go anywhere without saying, your so-and-so is with you. And they said, da, 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 and they're like, they break down and cry. I felt like every time I touched someone, they broke down and cried because I said something. It was cool. It was intriguing. But I'm just like, I can't live like this. I can't live like this. And I was doing music and my music was changing and becoming lighter, less about, the dark side of things. And I'm like, I got to do something with this. And so I started doing free readings, reading people for about a year or so, just practicing it. And then I had the great idea where someone told me, my spirit guys told me to create a Facebook page with just spiritual stuff. I'm like, okay, because I'm like, I gotta do something with it. So when I was doing free readings, I was doing something with it where I wasn't being bombarded every day when I was out and about, so, I'll never forget the last one. I was at the gym. It was so crowded at the gym. And I'm working out with a friend, and I'm just like, my head literally went, shoot, locked in with somebody. And they're so crowded, Gold's Gym in Hollywood, I streamlined directly to him, didn't see who was in the way, just went to him and said, your friend, a girlfriend of yours that passed away, that she took her life, she has to know right now that she is thinking about you, she's with you. I know it's general. And he goes, no. And he's like, his eyes opened up. He showed me his phone. He's like, our song just came on. I'm like, okay. And I walked away. And my friend was looking, and he's like, told the guy, just break down and cry. He's like, what did you do? I told him his friend was him. He was like, oh, okay. So when I started doing readings, less that was happening, but I still wanted that to happen, but it wasn't like being cumbersome for me, where like, oh my God, everywhere I go, I'm feeling all this. So after doing free readings and like them being great and validating, and then I decided to follow the Spirit's lead and create a Facebook page. And I said, I will do free readings for anybody. I'm just like, want more experience of my craft. I'll do free readings. Please, in exchange, we have to just leave a review. Got some wonderful people contacting me. Now, you tell people you want to do a free reading, they don't care if you're good or not. They'll show up. And so, and I really put my heart and soul into it, as I always do to this day, that they're amazed, they're blown away. So I got all these great reviews, and, and after doing that for about probably a couple weeks, as I was expanding on that, and then I actually, met someone who's blown away, and they pitched me to, you're amazing, you got to read a celebrity client of mine, and that ended up being Tamara Judge from The Housewives. Read her privately, she was blown away, and then she posted me on her Facebook page. This guy's amazing, you got to have a session with him. And I just had a Facebook page at that time. Could you imagine the emails and the requests coming through? I was not planning on this to be anything, by the way. I'm like, I'm composing, I'm making great money composing with major networks, making great money, right? And this blows up. I want a reading. Just calming. I'm like, what? So I had to hire a neighbor to be a assistant to book them sessions. And I said, how much do I charge? $100, and then they would send me PayPal. It was crazy. And so that went on for like 3 months. And then it like died down. I'm like, okay, I need this to die down. Cause like, fuck, I need something. I said, I got to create a website. I looked into how can I do a book? Do they have a booking system or something of that nature? And so they did, got a booking system on there. I'm like, okay, good. And so at that time, I'd still been reading Tamara. She's just like, you got to film with us. And I'm like, I don't want to do that stuff. I'm not sensationalized. I don't care for those things, and I don't want that like circus music under when I come on, because I'm a psychic. And she goes, no, it'll be fun. Like, you read the girls and, it'll be fun. And I'm like, I thought about it. I'm like, I don't know. But, Spirit's like, go. I'm like, no, I don't want to go. And Spirit's like, just do something out of your box. I'm like, all right, well, I listened to you the first time about the Facebook page. Let me hear, let's see what happens, right? I go on, don't know exactly what I'm supposed to expect. And so they're waiting. They have the setup in a restaurant. I walk in, they have to put me aside. They're filming, and they go, okay, you walk on. The only thing they told me is when and when I walk on, So I walk on, and questions I got asked about whether or not about some guy who has cancer. And I just got a read saying, nope. I saw deception. I was like, in my head, it took me a while. I'm like, this guy don't have cancer, dude. I'm like, I did not feel it at all. I saw the girl, predicted she had a kid, she did. And that, of course, I'm thinking to myself, is this ethical? I'm like, but these people are in my head, as I'm thinking, these people are on the show, they're putting their lives out there, so I'm just making a read. But if it's true, then what's wrong? If this guy's really lying, I just lost a best friend of brain cancer. My uncle had cancer. My sister at that time had cancer. I'm like, I was pissed off about someone lying about it. So I'm like, well, if I'm right, and this is correct read, Scott, then you need to expose this. So I'm like, I don't see it. All that was going in my head as I was reading this. And I'm like, I don't see it. And he doesn't have cancer? I'm like, no. And so I said, I'm not a guru, not Gandhi, but I just don't see it. And there was parts of the film that didn't air. I just say, but I do see the cancer on his nose or something like that before, but like, that's it. And that didn't get vindicated until like years later that like, yeah, he had cancer in his nose like years prior and all that stuff. I'm like, oh, fuck, I always wondered about that. And so we filmed and filming, and I don't know if you guys know Heather Dubrow. She's amazing in person. She's so down to earth. So is Tamara. What you see on TV is not really how they are in person. Heather was very down to earth. She was intrigued, and I connected with her grandmother, and she's awesome. And plus, she's an advocate for LGBTQ, so I love that about her now. And so we done filming, and I'm like, after that, felt like, what the fuck just happened? Like, what the hell just went on? right? I'm almost done. I'll get to the live readings. I'm almost to the end of it. I'm like, I felt like I was in a dream. I felt possessed. Like, what was going on? Like, I wouldn't do this. So that anxiety. I'm like, Tamara, like, what if I'm wrong? But I know I'm not. But what if? Then that goes my reputation. And I'm not bad like that. And I was so freaking out. The one of the housewives, Vicky, called me, threatening me and wanting to film. Like, no, I'm done with the show. I don't do anything about it. So it wasn't until, like, I think once the season was, they didn't film, the season was airing, it came out that the guy lied about, he falsified documents with the City of Hope, and she's like, you're vindicated. I'm like, good. I mean, but I'm not surprised, but I'm relieved, because there's that question, like, what if I was wrong? So, and of course, when it was indicated and that episode came around, I mean, I kid you, I was thankful I had a booking system, because just a preview of me being on that show, it was like every second, ding, 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 booking. It was like, oh my God, PayPal alerted it, because like all this money in one day. And so I had to like situate all that stuff out. And then for many years, I was booked out for several years. And so of course, through the years of doing that and realizing I'm tired of being a fortune teller, I'm tired of people asking the same questions. My boyfriend coming back. I'm like, but I knew we have to suffer with. I'm like, I want to change tell people, I'm seeing different things in people's trajectory. I'm getting a huge connection with spirit. I said, I want to evolve this more to be more in depth. It can't just be like black and white. And I started to see that people's trajectories weren't so black and white. They're changed. They're variables that were changed. I saw people's trajectories where it's like, this is here, but this could be changed, or this could be altered, or you have to experience this, or we can bypass it. I started seeing more. And so the clientele I had then, we're not having it. I would get a lot of people mad at me. He's a spirit coach. He's not a psychic. Meanwhile, it said psychic and spirit coach. He just told me, and then I had one review, some lady saying that he told me nothing was going to change in 2 years, that I had to change my mindset. And here I am, and things are worse now. I'm like, well, she clearly didn't change her mindset. Nothing has changed in her life. And she's confirming my prediction as she's yelling at me for it, right? So then I started saying, I really want to do mentorship and evolve that into my psychic mediumship, and I did. And so I started working on that, and the more I evolved and with my abilities and so forth, it became stronger. And so we're now, because I've gotten over the darkness of my past, the darkness of the trauma, and everything coming to light, that I was and I came on the other side of it. I'm like, I can help people understand. I know anxiety. I know suicidation. I know sexual abuse. I know about fear and anxiety. I know about feeling like you're in contempt of yourself. I know what it's like to feel, suicide. I know this. I've studied the thinking for a decade every night specifically for this. So I want to use that. And that's when I started incorporating that. Want to speak and want to lead and to guide and help others now with their intuition too. As I'm also writing new music as well. Music is still a passion. I'm still doing it. So, and I've had so many unique experiences when it comes to spirit's connection and the unfolding and the predictions and the success stories with my clients that I hear that's amazing. And, and so, spirit pushed me to do social media. And so, and I have gone 12 years with my work without advertising, just word of mouth. Of course, a great boost to the TV, but it's been continuous because of word of mouth. I'm not booked out years in advance like I used to, because I make sure I can navigate my schedule, so it's month to month, but it's where I need it to be. And it's going where I want it to go. And so that's where I resisted doing YouTube for a while. Then Spirit kicked me in the nuts. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go on YouTube. I don't want to be a YouTuber. And then I met Christopher Witecki and the whole Serious Joy gang. And then I was told to do podcasting and do what I'm doing now. And that's where I'm at now. But Spirit's like, you don't have to be obsessive with it. You don't have to be, you're Virgo rising and it has to be like all the time. Like, take a break, enjoy doing it. And I also said I wanted it to have an access or resource for my clients who already are my clients, but also maybe those who can't afford my prices, which I still keep them cheaper than a lot of celebrity psychics with my experience, just to be humble and confident at the same time with it. But I also want an option for people who can't afford it. Maybe just want to try me out or come on, spend a little money for just one question, right? To have a different resource for people. And so, and that's where I'm at now. And so that's my story. And of course, I didn't go through every amazing, one experience. I kind of wanted to summarize, so you understand my evolution of dealing with sexual trauma, the abuse, the ritualistic abuse, the conversion therapy, the suicidal ideation, the agoraphobia, because I had so much anxiety. To now I can look back at those things like I'm glad for them, and I'm glad I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now that I love so much. And, so we all have to look at our paths like this. We have to look at our path like this. I've seen people who charge, Iggy saying you're worth the price you charge. Thank you, because I see people who have done it for maybe a couple of years charging $500 to $800. I've had clients come to me say they've booked that TikTok psychics that are big, that send so much money, have big, large followings. They go, they were horrible. And so I'm like, yeah, because they're the ones that are congesting the algorithm, us psychics who are just not trying to be in the spotlight like that. They're taking a lot of that from what we're trying to do. I'm like, I don't care. Spirit's always good to me. I always book my months out. Even if it's the day of, they always get booked out. So, but I'm up against that. A lot of our psychics are up against that, the superficial ones and the ones that are just starting, and now they're charging $500 to $800, and because people exhaust that much money on the person they think is good, they won't go to someone else, right? So now I want to be a participant in changing the spiritual communities and the New Age communities, and being an asset to culture and how we think, and breaking the political norms and breaking the norms of even some of the New Age stuff. That's my goal. I want to change the industry, or at least be an influence in the industry in that change where I stand now, because I love this industry. There's a lot of people that piss and shit on this work that I do, that I didn't just hop into, as you can see by my story, or didn't say, I want to do this for a living. No. I evolved into this, and so therefore I take it seriously, and I respect my space, and I don't respect people who are pissing all over it, and so I will stand up for it, especially those in the spiritual communities. I am going to stand up. People think being spiritual means that you hold back and, just take the high road. No, that's not spiritual, taking the high road. Those of you who don't like to be confronted, confrontation, standing up and taking charge is spiritual. Talking against the bullshit and the nonsense is spiritual, and I learned that after being contempt of people's desires for so long. How did that do me, taking the high road, being sexually abused by people and abused by people? And it went on. I had so many other instances of taking advantage of that I didn't get into in my 20s with people who were, took advantage against my will, the R word. But, I've been through that, right? So how did that work? Taking the high road for somebody else. But also doesn't mean you just take a high road, I just don't want to start conflict. Bullshit. Sometimes you have to confront the conflict, to end the conflict, to stop people from behaving the way they're behaving now in such a shitty way. And that's why we have the world we have now. No one's confronting anything because people just don't want to. They want to keep the peace. No, confront it. We need to cause a little bit of this chaos for people to shut the fuck up or change their stupid behaviors that they're doing that's keeping us fragmented. And that's where my passion is at now. Because through my journey, I look up objectively now at the bigger picture. And I want to not just contribute to people one-on-one. I want to contribute to the bigger picture of our world. I will not tolerate people embedded in politics and trying to wrap that to spirituality. I will confront the fuck out of you, because you're contaminating the spiritual communities and you're contaminating the culture as it is today and fueling the shit that's going on that we all don't like. I'm going to call it out, and don't say it's not spiritual, because for me to turn a blind eye is not spiritual, because I don't want to upset you. I don't give a fuck about upsetting you. Right? And so this is where my zeal now has come from. This is where my edgy approach or my direct approach comes from, even though I've always been direct. But I realize what pacifies people that doesn't help. I also realize what nips things in the butt and makes change. Period. And so it makes a lot of people uncomfortable, and I don't care. Good. Because when I was uncomfortable, that's when I changed. When things become uncomfortable for me, I change and put me in a better position. So if it makes you uncomfortable, good. Good. So on that note, go back to loving, and let's get to the live readings now. Let me see. But that's my story, guys. I mean, just so much more things in there, but I don't want to be here all night talking about moi. I want to talk about you and talk about what's going on with y'all. That's why I'm here. But I would have done this show if it wasn't for people who keep asking me about it. Okay, so and people ask me about it, and I still put it off. Like, I don't want to talk about myself tonight. I don't want to talk about myself tonight. I don't want to talk about myself tonight. So today I'm just like, I can't think of a topic, and right now it's like people want to hear stories. I think it's the astrology. It's a perfect time for that. I was gonna do AI, but it's not the time to talk about AI, and health stuff. It just wasn't with the astrology where people are at. So people are more at like wanting to hear a story, wanting to hear, those shitness. Okay, let's get to these live readings. And look, I'm being good tonight, and I'm actually changing the banners. Yay me. Okay. All right. Let's see, as Venmo is trying to open up here. Okay. Have y'all been having tech issues today? I don't know. Is it just me that's having tech issues? Because not on. It's like text. The tech has been crazy today, and so and we had some outages even yesterday and today and stuff too. So Yes, Nina, thank you. And for your questions, be specific. Like, say, tell me about this lover, or tell me about this person. For the live readings, I need you to direct a specific question, not like, what's happening in the future? Like, that's a full session, guys. So I know you want to squeeze as much as you can out of everything, but please, like, I don't want to have to yell at y'all. But I want you guys to really settle in and to get it for a fine question, you know. Because with that one question, I'll read it to filth, and I'll prove to you that I'm reading into it. So... Okay, so first question is, I got the email today telling me they were doing they were going with other applicants to keep applying. Thanks to at least have gotten a reply. Is this a hard no with this position or company, or should I reapproach after revamp resume? I'm struggling in the current job. Thank you. Well, it's funny because I think last week or the week you asked me this question, I said it's possible it's not reading as a thing, and so I think at the time they were going through the selections, and then they chose a selection. So it's very much in alignment to when the answer I gave you the last question the other week with that. Let me see about your resume, if that's the issue. It's interesting. They said your guys say your resume is not clear enough, but it's too bloated at the same time. So perhaps you're saying too much, but not the clarity of what it needs to say in a sense. So I'm just saying it's not simple to digest and clear about what you're presenting than maybe others. So the advice I give you in your resume, make sure it's not too much, but also not enough. Because right now it feels too much, but not enough, but you could just simplify it as enough. So think of it in that context when you redo it. It needs some freshness to it. And, I would use assistance on that. Okay. But it's just more simplified, but you can have someone to help you with that. But I do feel like there's options for the future there. So I would definitely apply again. It doesn't hurt. But you have to also understand too, I'm going to say this to a lot of people who are trying to get things done. If you're sending a resume out in spite of another company, people are going to read that. People are going to read it. And I know they're not conscious of it. There's a reason why they'll say, I'm torn between two. Well, let's go with that one. There's a certain energy on that person that they read. People are actually being intuitive when they're trying to select things. So if you're sending a resume because I just got to get out of this job. Here, take this. You're not going to get a call back. And the fact you got a reply is good because you were considered. That's why I feel like you got a response back. Like I said last time, they were considering you. Otherwise, if they were really considered, I don't think that there would have been any type of, reply back. But I thought in this case you were considered in that sense. But try to put a different energy on the resume. Try to put the energy about, saying like, I want a new future. I want to really get a position that really intertwines with what I'm worth, what my skill sets are. And I wouldn't be proud of what I'm doing. Put that energy into resume. Like, let me just get this quickly because I just need to get this other job. I don't like this current job I'm in. Don't do that because everything else will fall flat. All right. So that's my advice on this. So I think that you'd be surprised when you do this in this way and just like put that energy in your resume and where you're going with it. You'll have more than one option. I guarantee you probably have 2 or 3 options that you'll probably see. Oh, these are cool selections and whatnot. So you'll almost like something's opened up when you do. So take advantage of that. Okay. I've had these questions so many times, and I'm like, girl, your resume's got bad energy on it. Like, change something on it and like send it with better energy. She's like, I got the job. I'm like, told you. So sometimes it's that simple. Now, if you were underqualified, I would say that, like, oh no, you're underqualified, it doesn't match. I just feel like there are people who are slightly more qualified that they went for what they were looking for, that you were not underqualified to agree. So that's why they advise us to submit in the future, because there might be a position that's still equally to what you're qualified for. So okay. All right. That was a long time on that. Kathleen, 20. Kathleen Print. Just found today my ex-husband that he had my daughter involuntary sectioned at a treat. Not sure if he's telling the truth or if he's fabricating the story. What do you mean? That he had my daughter involuntary section? Can you explain what that means, Kathleen? Is he telling the truth or is he fabricating the story? My only concern is that she is where she needs to be and is safe. Okay, let me try to just read through the lines on this. On this situation, no, I don't feel like he's exaggerating. It doesn't feel like he's exaggerating to me. You know, so I do feel like she might be having some mental health concerns. So yeah, I feel that. But I also feel like he's not exaggerating because he just also wants you to try to step up with this too, with the mental crisis that she has. So I wouldn't say she's not safe, right? But I don't think that her father knows how to work with this complications, right? So no, I don't feel like he's exaggerating on that. You know, I think he might be pushing the emphasis because he wants you to step in with it to a certain degree or need support for you. But no, but I mean, I think again, she'll be safe when she at least has someone to talk to help with the issues with mental health. And I think that once she has someone to talk to, like a therapist, then maybe he won't feel so responsible that he can fix it. And I think that she just needs someone to talk to, like a therapist or counselor. So being safe or not, I mean, safe, we have to redefine what we mean by safety. What she needs is therapy. And so I don't feel like he puts her in harm's way or anything of that nature, but she needs some mental health, nurturing. And once she gets that, then, you'll feel better too. But you both should be involved in that sense, even from afar, working together for that purpose and say, okay, well, maybe she got her therapist, maybe she got her counselor to talk to, and not, passing the buck on each other about that. Say maybe there needs to be an alternate party that steps in. And I feel like that needs to happen for this. Okay. And a card pull for Kate. But yeah, if you put it in that fashion, and I think at some point too, she texted me, he said he made a story about treatment center. I don't know. I don't know if that's something that I would say this, whether or not the treatment center part, if you're asking about the treatment center part is made up, I don't feel yes or no on that specific aspect, but I don't think he's making up with her mental health though. I don't think that she wants you to think there's something wrong with her because I think she knows that you would take, charge on that. So I think she's also trying to maybe minimize it too a little bit. I think he's, like I said, pushing it into you so you could do something about it, but at the same time, she might be trying to minimize about it too. Because I don't think she wants maybe help. Like, oh no, it's fine. He's making it up. And, so I don't think she's being completely honest there either. But I think she's trying to maybe protect you, that nothing's bad. But that logistic of it is not important to me. To me, the mental health, that her needing a therapist or someone to talk to is what's needed. Okay. But, whether it's a treatment center or maybe it was like she went to the ER, something that's you may be focusing on the wrong thing there, my love. Whether that's true or not. The fact is your daughter would be helpful if she had a therapist to speak to because of focusing on like mental health stuff. That's the emphasis. Don't focus on, is a treatment center true or not? Look, your daughter needs assistance. But I feel like it could have been an ER or something of that nature. If maybe that was embellished, but the fact of the situation. So I'm kind of repeating myself here. So perhaps you're not understanding it. I don't know, but it's pretty simple. Let's go to Kate. Card pull for Kate. Yeah, because, I and even this too, perhaps that, she feels her dad's exaggerating, but maybe he's not exaggerating about the fact that she needs mental health care. she might say so. Oh, you're overreacting. Like, people who are, not to say your daughter's this, but those who have like addiction issues, they're overreacting, And so I think that in that part, I think that even though it might be true that she needs some mental health assistance, she might think, oh, he's overreacting, no big deal. So just take that into consideration. All right, carpool for Kate. Interesting. Okay, just reading the cards. I don't know where it's going with this, but Eight of Swords, or it's Eight of Wands, excuse me, is about successive movement, more in the career sector. So they're emphasizing to focus on work, focus on career, because I feel like things will change with the career environment. So this is card pull for Kate. And like relationships should be taking a back seat. Like that should not be your emphasis about like focus on relationships. And so the World card is things coming to completion. So I think that if you allow yourself to say, let me focus on career, let me focus on kind of the work aspects right now, and kind of relationships are there. Just keep in the back seat for now. I think you'll find some good change with work and good change within the career sector, if however you like to call that. Because when the world comes up, it could literally mean that, but it also can mean that it's in a, completion. To me, it feels like more of a completion that, I do have my work where I want it to be. If I feel complete, and now I can put emphasis into relationships. So pay attention to the changes with work and success and putting movement there. Because I feel like then you'll start seeing good opportunities, and they'll be like almost like a passion that ignites. Oh my gosh, like I'm excited about this. So that's kind of an advice on that. Okay, Felicia. I wish this was like doing what it should be doing instead of not doing what it should be doing and coming, Okay. Felicia says, are the people at my job trying to make me quit? If I stay with my sister for a month, would that change with my husband's attitude and how he treats me? Well, if you stay with your husband's, if you stay with your sister, your husband will definitely be happy that you're gone. I don't think that he'll be happy when you return. So yeah, that'll change how he feels about you. But are the people at my job trying to make me quit? No, I don't think they're trying to make you quit. I just think it just feels like a very bitchy energy that's going around there. I think there's a lot going on because of the political stuff that's going on, it feels like. So it just feels combative to me. Not so much to make you quit. And if they were trying to, who gives a fuck, right? It's your job. But I think it's being amplified for you because I don't think you enjoy being there. I think you want to be doing something else. So these things are being amplified because I think you want to quit. So I would start looking into a passion and focusing more on a passion again, because I feel like you're wanting to quit, and this chaotic energy, this is amplified, right? So that's what I think is happening psychologically. Now, staying with your sister might be a good thing for you to take a breather, but it's only going to change his attitude that he's glad he had his space for himself, but then when you return, he's going to be back to his old self again. So, but really kind of rethink about, where you want to be with your work and career. Make changes toward that. And then I feel like once you do so, then perhaps you wouldn't be so encumbered by this chaos. You're like, okay, I'm at my sights on somewhere else. They have no mind on this, but it feels like a collective energy that's kind of like chaotic, not so much so directed at you, even though you're getting brunts of it. So, all right, next is Sarah McPhee. What is, the McPhee's off me. Hey babes, while I navigate my separation, should I to stay in my house or try and keep it or move out as soon as possible I can? Well, I can't make the decision for you. So I can't say do this, do that. Like, that's not what we're here to do, to make your decisions for you. But the energy that feels best, is letting it go. I'll say this, make your own decision. But to me, it just feels like, I almost feel like you will decide to let it go and move forward. I feel like you're going through a shedding right now, not just because it's like a separation or anything like that. I just feel like emotionally, energetically, you're going through some, like you're just wanting to like do things differently and fresh. And so I feel like that, leaving it behind and it would be something you'll end up doing and feel more clearer about. The house of the energy, or the energy of the house, excuse me, it just feels chaotic. And I just feel like the energy feels heavy to me. So one could say, well, am I trying to separate from the house because I'm separating from my going through a separation? It's like, no, but sometimes it's required too. And I feel in this case, a separation from the home would be something that would be a better option and more freeing, more that will be leaning toward, So whether you sell it and make a profit and put it into another place that's more suitable for your energy, there's a need for that change. But I actually feel like you're going to do it anyway. So it's not really so much about convincing you, but I feel like you can do it anyways, which is why I kind of answered the question, because I feel like you're going to make, that's the decision you're going to make anyways. So yes. Okay. Mandy O. Gorman. I have a working interview tomorrow with a neurological vet clinic receptionist position. It feels aligned for me. What are your thoughts, feelings? Well, let's see. I told you many, many sessions ago that you'd be working with animals. again. And so here it is. So, yes, it feels right to me. It feels aligned. It feels balanced. As I say this, the Two of Pentacles comes out. Linda Jane, have a wonderful night, my love. Thank you for stopping by. So yeah, it feels good. And I don't have much feelings other than what I've told you several months ago about you should work with animals again. And I think you're a flight attendant, right? I think. And so, yes, I think this is a good shift and change. Be around that empathetic nature as you're working on the spiritual practice. So, go get it. And like I said, remember I told you too, you need a position where you're around the animals, but not working directly hands-on with them. Remember I said that a long time ago in one of our sessions? This is perfect because you're there seeing the animals, but you're not diving deep into their woes and all that stuff either. You're allowing to kind of just be close, but not too close. So yes. Okay. Let me see. Okay, next we have Tara Matisse. Okay, Tara says, do you see love coming in for me anytime in the future? If so, any details about this person? Is there hair stuck over here? Just noticed that. I don't tend to look at myself in the mirror. I just saw you put something else in there. Love and joy. Well, I don't see it relatively soon. It feels like no, it feels like it's more like mid 2026. I feel like around there, like an interest steps in. It feels like there's got to be a lot of clearance of something. Okay, because there's a haze, there's a cloud energy, right? And when I see cloud energy, it's something that's blocking you, but you're trying to rush out of it, or you're trying to like get something new in spite of this energy, right? And so it's kind of saying that you need to be more focusing on handling that energy, that unresolved energy, that you're bouncing too fast. I think, it says you're bouncing too fast. And so, I don't know. I just feel an influence, what do I call this? I don't want to use bad influence. I don't want to use those words because it sounds heavy. I just feel like there's an influence that's misguiding you on things. So I feel like that needs to be resolved. And so, and I don't feel like it is yet. I feel like you're trying to push out of it instead of resolving that. It feels like abandonment issues, Your name sounds familiar, so I don't know completely, remember completely, but your name sounds familiar. I know I've read you before. But I don't remember everything from what we've talked about previously. But I don't have to. I can read it. But it feels like abandonment issues to me, that you're in the cycle. Drop, 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 grab, drop, grab, drop, grab, drop, grab, drop. And so things will keep falling off if you continue with this unresolved that I feel around. So I want you to focus on that. And they're saying about need to be getting gritty with physical reality. Don't be in the clouds. The term I use, like in the clouds, because people go so like, I'm all the spiritual, but they're not doing actually anything other than confusing themselves. So embrace the physicality of the unresolved that correlates to abandonment issues. Because otherwise, to me, I feel like a lot of this will just be repetition of, I'm not feeling this one. I don't know about this one. I'm not getting what I want from this one. A cycle of such. So you're going to have to rework that out. And then you'll be open to love, because then you've actually embraced, what the cycle of what you've done before. The next question you're saying is, how do you increase your wealth or finances? I don't think you're living your passion. I don't think you're stepping foot into your passion fully. That's the issue. So I'm not, as you know, I'm sure if you watch me, you know I'm not the one that's going to say, go manifest and write down 5,000 times about how wealthy you are. Nope, don't happen that way. Because those who come to me curse me, and then they come back months later. Okay, what do I got to do now? It didn't work. I'm like, so they're saying specifically, you're not living your passion. You're avoiding going into your passion or stepping into a passion that's going to prevent, or put a limitation on financial aspects, worth issues, so you got to be in the state of love, because I love that the Lover's card did come out. And so once you do, it's not just romantic love, my love, it's actual love in what you're doing and participating in. That's going to create value and expand a lot of things, outside, the real love that you're looking for, that's aligned, not another karmic relationship, but also the fact you're in a state of love, because being in the state of love means you love what you're doing, you're fun with what you're doing. We all need to understand the state of love. And I'm going long-winded with this because, excuse me, my sinuses, because of these lights again. I have a fan blowing on me because that also circulates that stuff. But we have to understand that being in love also means we have to be doing things that we love too, not just like someone loves me and I'm obsessed with them and oh my God, I'm in a relationship. Like that's shallow. So they're telling you, Tara, you be in the state of love, and that means you're doing what you're loving. But you're also loving the things that were indifferent, but you're also loving things that were in your life for the reason they were in your lives. You're loving that too. You're not associating everything with abandonment, and also you're not abandoning because of the fear of abandonment, right? So you're nurturing that, loving that energy, right? And then when you do, then relationship walks in. And when you do, your finances improve. So many spiritual people look at money so not in a spiritual way. And this is not you, Tara. This is just inspiring a topic of conversation. So many people look at money as like, well, what do I got to do to get money? Do I need to like affirm things and that's spiritual? Do I need to, write it down 5,000 times? Do I need to, it's like, how about connect with spirit if you want to be spiritual about finances to help you guide you what you could do better to make better money, or understand that perhaps you're in an energetic rut that you got to get yourself out of, right? And so if you want to be spiritual, then be spiritual about money. I tell people, stop trying to be physical. Oh, 5,000 times. I prayed to start. I affirmed it. I see it. I visualize. I kept trying harder. I can't try any harder. I'm think harder, visualize harder. Iggy and I always joke about. That ain't spiritual. Are you in, and I ask people, are you in desperate need? How about appreciate the shit you have now? Because if you don't appreciate the shit you have now, ain't nothing else coming in. And so a lot of what goes with financial well-being is appreciation what you have now and taking advantage of things you have now. This is why my home is so clean, because I appreciate everything. My office is spotless. I wipe things down because I appreciate them. I appreciate the tools that I have, the money that I make, the clients that I serve. And guess what? My finances go like this. But if you're looking for a quick fix, I'm going to be a millionaire next year. You're not going to be a millionaire next year. Sorry, it's possible, but most chances, if you're thinking that way, it's not happening. But what you can do to make that happen for yourself is, and I'm going to go back to Tara again now. That was a sidetrack from Tara, or Tara, is to be in the state of love. And understand what that means, being in the state of love. You love what you do. You love, you're putting love into your home. You're putting love into your relationships. You're putting love into where you're at. If you don't do that, money ain't coming anywhere. That's the secret. That's the formula to love. That's how you attract love. All this words you want to use them. But that's how you do it. I tell people. All right. But sorry, Tara. But again, state of love. All the other stuff was just an inspired conversation that spawned from your question. So, okay. AC, I haven't seen you in a long time. What's going on, AC Chico? What's up, man? How's that art doing for you? It's been a long time. I hope you're doing well. We need to catch up. I want to see how you're doing, AC. So please fill me in your deets. So we will read. At least see what comes up in the cards. Right, exactly. Excuse me. That's 55,555 times to write to your own every fifth day at 555 and AM and PM. And every fifth. Because I'm manifesting $5,555. All right, AC Chico. I wish there's like I can create an AI bot to like manually when it hears me like do my sniffles, it like cuts out the audio. Come on, AI. I need an AI bot to do that. Anyways, because I get stuffed up from these lights all the time. It gets hot in here too. So, because otherwise I'd be all dim. And again, I'm more polished about the aesthetics, but the show's a shit show. I don't know where the fuck I'm going with the shows. I just show up and whatever happens. AC Chico, 7 of Pentacles. I blanked out for a minute. So the question is, what are you sitting on? You're sitting on something, you have a great idea that you're sitting on, that you're waiting for something else to happen with something else you did versus something you've been sitting on. And they're saying what you're sitting on, it's money, right? So we'll be figurative about it. It's something that would be of value. So whatever you've been sitting on and not putting emphasis into, it could be a piece of art, a piece that maybe you've started but didn't quite finish, but you know you should finish it, or an idea that you're sitting on but didn't quite do it. Do it. They're saying it's going to, either bring in money or it's going to bring in some sort of, connection financially, right? So kind of similar to what I was saying with Tara is that, this idea you're sitting on is part of what you love. It puts you in a state of love. So they're saying, don't sit on that idea. Don't be speculative and don't, be pondering. Get up and do it and understand that could be a link to your success with your work that you're doing that you never thought would bring that success. Okay. So, yeah, don't be speculative. What else do I got to do? It's like you're sitting on something. Get that out there. I have a song, and my partner's been doing this, saying this to me too. I have a song where he every time he hears it, he cries. So, and I'm writing new songs. He's like, finish that song. That's gonna make you big. And I'm like, but it's the timing for it, And so I'm like, I'm sitting on it, but I know there's a timing for it. Otherwise, I'd be doing it. Like, there's a time for. It's called Meant for You. There's a time for that song, right? So I'm working on one that's a little more epic, and then I'm going to get into that one that's a little more. So it's coming. And so, but sometimes you can sit on things for a reason, but in this case, AC, you're sitting on something that needs to not be sit on, and just go for it. Okay. All right. Let me check my PayPal. Because it feels like there's some like financial success with that AC, future in a sense. So what that song, Get Down on It. I love 90s music for some reason. I love all music, but like I just love 90s R&B. Give me some 90s R&B and like we are good to go. Like I love 90s R&B. And soul. I feel like even rock had a lot of soul in the 90s too. I love going back to the 90s. Okay, I'm trying to log in, guys. I'm sorry for the time it's taking me to do this, but they try to make things easier, but they make it more complicated to switch between accounts that I have to sit here. I feel like if I had dial-up, I'd get here quicker. Okay, good. I knew there was one here. Honorata. Got a question from Honorata. Honorata has been a client of mine since, like, I couldn't tell you, Honorata. How long has it been? It's been a long time. That maybe from like 10 years ago, maybe Honorata's been. So it's good to see you, Honorata. Hi, Scott, indulge me. I'm moving on, but still curious if my recent ex is an actual narcissist and why he broke up with me so suddenly. Was there someone else like a friend? Okay, gotcha. Well, I'm for one, I think that narcissists have become the buzzword of the decade, but I think people can exhibit narcissistic traits. This ex just feels insecure, then somewhat overcompensates insecurity with narcissistic behavior. So I can't say I can't diagnose him as a narcissist. Obviously, I don't have the credentials to do so. But psychically, I would say that yes, there's. I heard someone from the past, Honorata. Interest from the past. So it could be someone he familiarized himself with previously, but then, kind of like got the connections, like, good, I got this, right? So it just feels like he's the type of individual that will go where the attention flows the most for him. So that could be narcissistic, but there's so much other qualities that doesn't make him a narcissist, but then that does, you know what I mean? So that doesn't matter. The fact is he's very, like I said, wherever the attention flows the most, he will go. And so that means you always have to be kissing his ass all the time and showing up for him all the time. And that's exhausting. So, but it's definitely somebody else. And it feels like someone that he's known previously, or somebody he's known previously that he finally got to lock in, so screw that. Screw that, right? Okay, so we're done with the live reading. So I appreciate all the questions there. Pretty simple questions. Of course, as I always say, the one-on-one sessions, we go in depth. I go deep in our one-on-ones because we have the time to. And we can be more detailed, more layered. So if you guys ever question about a live reading with me or personal reading, they are different. These are like this, simple questions, short to the point. But I do like to go in depth with my one-on-one sessions. Now, next week, I'm going to talk about AI, and being spiritual in a rising AI community. How do we deal with this? Can we utilize it? Can we embrace it and still be spiritual? All these great things. And I will tell you, I had some chats. Check out my last video I posted. I don't post much videos. I'm only on here for live shows, right? Doing live shows, or I do shorts for my live shows. Every now and then I'll post a video. That's not a live show. So I just posted a video showing my conversation with ChatGPT. Crazy. Basically confirming what I always knew, psychic ability exists. It's been suppressed, when it was suppressed, and we can look that up and so forth. And also laid out when, psychic ability will be vindicated, based on how things are going. So, and I'm like, yeah, I predicted that years ago. So check that video out. It's pretty interesting. But I also been fooling around with AI, like taking videos and images and turning them into videos. And I think it's pretty cool. I've been obsessed with this because I feel like that it's allowing people to be more creative. We're not focusing on how to execute things like, okay, yeah, I want to see this, go. And it's like we get to be more creative and more imaginative. Now, get into that when it comes to AI, because I think that's going to be a positive aspect of AI. We can be more imaginative without worrying about how to execute. So here's one of my dogs, Rocco and Macy, and it was just a still picture. And here's them taking off on a magic carpet that I told it to do. I mean, I just had a still picture of the two of them there, and I said, have them ride a magic carpet outside the house, and I think it added the fireworks on its own. I thought that was kind of cool. Anyways, and then here's what I did with the unicorn. I had a picture of me with a kissing unicorn. I'm sure if you guys seen that. And so I told it to have me ride the unicorn, and this is what it did. I mean, come on, it's addicting. I have so many others I did such bad things to where I told to do funny things, and it's really, really funny. So I'm like, wow, I'm really intrigued by this. And like, instead of like being scared, oh, what AI is going to do? It's like, what are we going to be able to do? I've been repetitive about this the past couple of weeks. AI and machinery is becoming more elevated. So are we. Just like we're able to do. Maybe we'll become more the manifestors at this point and changing reality in that sense. And maybe it's time for that. We can start doing that because we're all evolving. Everything's evolving. So don't let it scare you that AI and computing is evolving. Be great that you're evolving too. We have to. It all has to shift. And if you're not evolving, don't get caught in the crossfire with everything in that nature too. So, all right, guys. Well, it's been a wonderful week. And so here's my final thoughts, like Jerry's final thoughts. Remember Jerry Springer? I mean, he admittedly said he destroyed culture. I don't think he destroyed culture. I think he made people more aware about what the fuck goes on in our society. So I thought it was a good thing for that. But okay, let's see what we say for closing. I'm shuffling some cards here. I have to get my song Rescue uploaded here so I can play it. My mom keeps telling me, play Rescue. But what just the closing notes is. In order to solidify, guys, like I said in the beginning, collective read, you don't have to be moving around so much. Some of you might be having moves, and that's kind of you're solidifying your new foundation. But it also doesn't mean that you have to be doing so much now either. Like I'm thinking so much so far in the future, or you might be having ideas, but ask yourself, is it really for now, or is it for the future? Just like an insight for the future. So settle in right now. And that's, again, settling in is figuratively speaking. And it could mean that you need to do so physically too. But, excuse me, physically speaking, because I'm had the drip. It's annoying. I think I'm going to find out why I have allergies. It's been better since I moved out of Palm Springs. But every now and then, it's like with the lights and stuff, my allergies are crazy. Anyways, back to the message. Some of you guys might have to maybe physically relocate to settle in and to find that grounding and solidifying energy, as I was saying before. Most of y'all don't need to be looking so far out anymore. Most of you already have it here and solidify what you have now. And so ask yourselves, Are you where you really want to be? Are you at the position where you want to be? Have you been lagging on this? You've done the work the past couple months of making the realization and using your voice. You've done the work, clearing things out. You've done the work of owning your new identity, but are you solidifying with that? Some of you just need to solidify what you have now and enjoy it. Some of you just like, no, I actually been lagging. It's time to solidify in a new environment. So understand your pacing on these things. And don't think so. You should think far ahead, but also what you're feeling, try to place it in your trajectory. Does it go here? Does it go there? I want a relationship, but does it really belong here? Does it belong here? Right? So be the dictator and be the orchestrator of that right now. And the only way you'd know where it belongs is if you become a little psychic. And you become a little psychic, you tune back into your intuition, you tune back into your truth of who you are, and start practicing that again instead of listening to everybody else. So that's my final messages here. And I think I would leave you with The Reason lyric video. My son, The Reason. I think probably, I feel like because the lyric I say is, someone try to convince me that no matter the season, there's only one reason, it's love. Like, convince it, show it to me. And if you show it to me, I won't back down. I'll stand up for it. I'll defend you on it. But you got to participate. Make people believe. Make people understand that you are a loving person, or there's a reason to love you. And that means you're participating, you're engaging, you're expressing it. You know, and too many people right now are just busy fighting. And that's what the verse says. People are busy fighting, like, such is life. We're picking sides, but everyone's losing. That's the first verse that I say, and you'll see. And I'm saying this because I'm like, everyone, thinks they're fighting for something injustice, but they're just causing more friction and chaos. We all lose in a sense. And so we got to start thinking, what can I do to show up and participate? And ask yourselves, what reason are you giving people to love you? And I'm going to leave off with that. Guys, I appreciate you all. Love you all. You're all the gods and goddesses of your own myth. What do you want to create? I will see you next week. I will be here next week. And also on LOL. So check us out there. If you missed that episode last night, check it out. And I'll see you all next week. I love you all. Good night, guys.
Such is life. Picking sides, but everyone is losing. Here they come. Picking fights. Why is it so amusing? My mind is spinning, busy searching for a meaning, no escaping it. 'Cause every time we find ourselves in different places, we're just dead ends. Step aside, I'm still searching the meaning to life. Someone try now to convince me that no matter the season, there's only one reason, it's love. Is it love? I won't back down or lie down, I'll defend it. Just give me the reason, give me the reason to love, to love, yeah. It's a simple life. You disguise and filter through your anger. Fool me once, I fool you twice. We can't help it but but to give you all the love and understanding I keep calling it. So every time you turn your back and play the victim, I'm not buying it. Step aside, I'm still searching, I'm still searching, yeah. Can someone try now to convince me that no matter the season, there's only one reason, it's love. Is it love? I won't back down or lie down, I'll defend it. Just give me the reason, give me the reason to love,
Scott Cruz is popularly known for his life-changing one-on-one readings to also guide in your soul ascension journey. With life readings, get insight into your relationships, career, health, trauma healings, past life regressions, and more. Want to connect with a loved one who's transitioned? Scott's mediumship session can be the gateway to you and your loved ones in spirit, bridging the gap between the physical and the spiritual realm. If you want to enhance your own psychic ability, Scott's Intuition Builder session can help expand your psychic and mediumship abilities. So sign on to scottcruzpm.com to book your own personal session today.